July 1954, Tokyo's Haneda Airport. It is a sweltering day, buzzing with the post-war energy of Reconstruction. Businessmen, diplomats, and tourists stream through customs in a rhythmic, bureaucratic flow. Until, according to the story that has circulated for decades, one man steps forward. He is sharply dressed. He speaks fluent French and Japanese. He appears, by all accounts, to be a weary European traveler on a routine business trip. He hands his passport to the immigration officer. The document appears genuine. The stamps are real. The paper stock checks out. But as the officer looks at the cover, the rhythm stops. The passport is issued by the sovereign kingdom of Taured. The officer checks his list. He checks the map. He checks history. There is no such place. And yet, the man standing before him isn't a madman. He is a ghost from a world that, according to our timeline, never existed. The standoff was immediate. The traveler was not agitated. He was baffled. When officials informed him that Taured did not exist, his reaction wasn't fear, it was indignation. He claimed his country had occupied the land between France and Spain for over 1,000 years. When presented with a standard world map, the man jabbed a finger at the Principality of Andorra. "This is it," he insisted. "But why does your map call it Andorra?" To the Japanese authorities, this smelled of espionage. It was the height of the Cold War. A man with a fake country could be a spy, a smuggler, or a provocateur. They moved him to a secure room and began to dissect his identity. This is where the story shifts from a misunderstanding to an impossibility no one could explain. If this was a forgery, it was the work of a state-level actor. His wallet contained valid currency from across Europe. His driver's license bore the official seal of Taured. He carried checkbooks from banks that followed legitimate European formatting but belonged to financial institutions that did not exist in any known directory. He referenced a company he was visiting in Tokyo. Authorities called them. The company existed, but they had never heard of him. He gave the name of the hotel he had reserved. The hotel existed, but had no record of his booking. He was a man whose entire life was compatible with our reality software, but his data simply wasn't found. By nightfall, the investigation had hit a wall. A medical examiner declared the man sane, though visibly shaken. He was suffering from a profound cognitive dissonance, a man watching his own history being deleted in real time. Unable to detain him for a crime, but unwilling to release a man with no legal status, immigration officials made a temporary arrangement. He was escorted to a nearby hotel for the night. The security protocols were strict. The room was on a high floor. There was no balcony. The windows were sealed shut. 2 immigration guards were posted directly outside the door. They were under orders. No one enters, no one leaves. As the man entered the room, he reportedly turned to the guards, offering a tired smile. He muttered that this clerical error would surely be resolved by morning. The guards remained at their post all night. They heard no struggle, no voices, no opening of windows. The silence was absolute. At dawn, the senior immigration officers returned to transport the subject for further questioning. The guards unlocked the door. The room was empty. According to the account, this was physically impossible. The window was still sealed. The drop was fatal. The door had been watched every second. But the disappearance of the man was not the most chilling detail. Back at the airport security office, officials went to retrieve the man's confiscated belongings, his passport, his checkbook, the driver's license from Taured. They were gone. The evidence, locked inside a secure government facility miles away from the hotel, had vanished simultaneously with the man. It was as if the universe was correcting a glitch. The man, his history, and his proof were simply formatted out of existence. Here is where we must step back from the story and examine its foundations. Because despite its vivid details, the Taured incident has a problem. There is no paper trail. No Japanese newspaper from 1954 mentions the event. No immigration file has ever been produced. No court record. No hotel log. The earliest known written account of the story doesn't appear until the 1980s, 3 decades after it allegedly occurred. Skeptics argue this is proof that the entire incident is an urban legend, a ghost story dressed in Cold War clothing. And they may be right. But the absence of evidence has never stopped a story from spreading. And curiously, it has never stopped people from believing this one. One researcher who has spent years cataloging dimensional anomaly reports, a man who goes only by the name Haruki in online forums, offers a different interpretation. He believes the lack of documentation is not a flaw in the story, it is a feature. If the universe corrects anomalies, he writes, why would it leave a paper trail? The absence of proof is exactly what you would expect if the correction was complete. The leading theory among fringe researchers is not that the man was a liar, but that he was a victim of a slip in the multiverse. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that infinite parallel realities exist alongside our own. Usually, they remain separated by an impassable membrane. But on that hot July day in Tokyo, if the story is true, the barrier thinned. The man from Taured walked through a soft spot in reality. He came from an Earth almost identical to ours, an Earth where the currency is the same, where the airports are the same, but where history took a slight turn 1,000 years ago, creating Taured instead of Andorra. And just as quickly as the door opened, it slammed shut. The universe corrected the anomaly, pulling the man and every trace of his existence back to where he belonged. We may never know if the man from Taured was real. Perhaps he was a con artist whose scheme was embellished over decades of retelling. Perhaps he was a fever dream born from Cold War paranoia. Or perhaps, in some version of this universe, he is telling the same story in reverse. A businessman from Taured, recounting the day he was stranded in a world that insisted, impossibly, on calling his homeland Andorra. What we can say with certainty is this: the story endures. It has been told in 100 languages, across 1,000 forums, for nearly half a century. And the question at its heart refuses to fade. We rely on the stability of our world. We trust that maps are static, that history is written in ink, and that when we step off a plane, we are landing in the same world we left. But the story of the man from Taured suggests something far more fragile. It suggests that our reality is not a solid floor, but a drifting tectonic plate. And occasionally, without warning, we might just slip through the cracks. Was he a spy? A hoax? A traveler who simply took a wrong turn in the multiverse? Check your passport. Make sure the country inside is still there.